everyone, this is Mei Xin. You're watching Channel EMI, brought to you by the Center for Academic Literacy here at NTNU. It's been brought to my attention that EMI teachers just go on and on and on and on even after their classes are supposed to end. Today's top story is EMI teachers sabotaging students' social lives. While this phenomenon definitely proves the teachers' dedication to their jobs, it's also concerning, as some students have told us that they've run late for their dates simply because their EMI teachers kept on talking even after the bell rang. Are EMI teachers intentionally sabotaging their students' social lives? Let's find out more from Anthony, our NTNU correspondent.
Hi everyone, this is Anthony P, and this is EMI teacher Ruben. Hello Ruben, welcome back.
Hello Anthony.
Excited to be here. You've learned a lot so far.
I really have.
Happy to hear it. Ruben, what's with the students' complaints that EMI teachers keep talking even after the bell rings? Are you jealous of their social lives? Many of them ran late for their dates because of that.
I'm terribly sorry. I don't mean to hold them back.
Why did you wrap up class late then?
That's the thing. Wrapping up. I'm not quite sure how to do it. So we've been talking about protein and the benefits that it has for your body and maintaining your health. But now we're going to be talking about tofu in life.
Professor, the bell just rang.
I heard it. And so, one time I went to this beautiful, high-end, bougie. Did you know that tofu is also really good?
Exactly. I can't be late and leave a bad impression. You should totally go right now. I think I'm gonna give it another 5 minutes. I'm just gonna sneak out the bag if he still doesn't stop after 5 minutes.
One time I went to this exhibition where I watched the process of how they make tofu skin from soy milk. And let me tell you, there was yellow, white, this creamy tofu skin.
Okay, I'm gonna go. Bye.
This kind of big pot, and I even watched them dry the tofu skin, and then watch how learn about all kinds of different foods that they can make, and just like that, I really didn't mean to keep the students behind. I just don't know how to wrap up a class properly. So I kept talking and talking and talking. I feel terrible for affecting the students' social lives.
It is terrible, Ruben, and you can't go back in time and reteach that lesson, so don't blame yourself anymore. We'll share some pointers for wrapping up classes with you so that the next one will be better. Are you excited?
Thank you. That's going to be really helpful.
Thank you, Anthony and Ruben. Now I see. It's not that these EMI teachers are intentionally keeping their students from having a life, but they don't know how to wrap up a lesson properly. On the other extreme, I've also heard of some EMI teachers just running out of the classroom once the bell rings to avoid having to wrap up the class. Either way, students are left confused, frustrated, or both. Wrapping up a class properly is important because it reinforces key points covered in that class. Studies have shown that an effective summary offered by a teacher at the end of a class also boosts the retention rate of students, which means that students remember the lesson better. So, in today's video, we'll be sharing a few ways in which EMI teachers can announce that the class is ending, review and recap their class, provide students with a preview of the next class, and also dismiss the class in a more dignified way than simply running out of a classroom in a panic at the sound of a bell. Remember, wrapping up a class is just as important as wrapping up a thoughtful present. After all, you're giving students the gift of knowledge. So what better way than to put a nice little bow on it? Once you get the hang of it, using these expressions can be easier than tying decorative ribbons.
4 tips for ending with a bang. Tip number 1, announcing the end. Ending a class well provides a sense of closure to the lesson. I'm sure you have sat through classes in which the presenter did not manage their time properly and had to either end a class abruptly or rush through the last part, just like the final season of a certain popular TV show featuring lots of dragons and pretty people. Not naming names, but you know what I mean. Anyway, to signal to the class that your class is ending, here are a few sentences that you can use. We've come to the end of the lecture. I'd like to conclude by saying,
Tip number 2, review and recap. It's also a good idea to review and recap what's been discussed over the past couple of hours. This will also remind students of the key points covered. Here are a few expressions we can use to review and recap this lesson before we call it a day. We'll start with a few expressions containing the words sum, summary, or summarize, since these are more straightforward. Let's sum up our discussion. I'd like to take a moment to sum up. Let me summarize what we covered today. Here's a short summary of the key points we covered today. If you prefer some variation, let's look at some expressions using other words. Pay attention to the words in bold. Let's recap what we've just discussed over the past 3 hours. Before I let you go, let's go over the main ideas we discussed today. The main takeaway from today is, let's review the main ideas we talked about. In conclusion, I'd like to emphasize that let's do a quick revision before we wrap up for the day. Did you notice anything special in this set of sentences? If you missed it, look at the sentence marked by an asterisk again. Does that sound weird to you? Well, it really depends on where you're from. Here's a short trivia. If you have been learning American English, you might always have referred to 复习 as review. However, in British English, we say revise as the verb for 复习and revision as the noun. So next time, if you hear someone referring to 复习 as revise or revision, it might not be that they're using the word wrong. It could simply give a hint about the background. Isn't the varied world of English interesting? We'll go into that a little bit further in our language pointers segment.
Preview of the next class. Other than providing students with a review and recap, you might also wish to let them have a quick idea about what you will be covering in the next class. Here are some ways you can give them a brief preview of what's next, whether you are going to introduce a new topic or go deeper into the same topic. Starting a new topic in the next class. In the next class, we'll move on to discuss. We will cover topic in our next class. We are going to explore topic in our next lecture. Continuing the same topic in the next class, we will pick up where we left off. We will continue with topic in the following class. Did you notice a pattern in these sentences? They all use the future tense. We use the future tense to talk about upcoming plans because, well, these plans are in the future.
Tip number 4, dismissing a class. Finally, our favorite part of class, dismissal. While we love our students, sometimes we can have too much of a good thing. In any case, here are some ways you can signal that the students are free to go, whether to lunch or dinner, to the library, or that hot date they've been looking forward to the entire week. We'll call it a day. Let's wrap up today's discussion. We'll stop here today and continue in the next class. I won't keep you any longer. Have a good weekend. Trust me, their affection for you will shoot up as soon as they hear these sentences. Don't take my word for it. Try it out and see for yourself.
When should I start wrapping up? While there are no set rules as to how much time you should set aside for wrapping up a class, as a general rule, you can think about starting your wrap-up about 10 minutes before the end of class. During these 10 minutes, you can take the students through the steps we talked about just now. Here's an example of how you may allocate your 10 minutes during the 4 steps mentioned earlier. Announcing the end, 1 minute. Review and recap, 5 to 6 minutes. Preview of the next class, 2 to 3 minutes. Dismissing class, 1 minute. Notice that we allocated the most time to the review and recap segment, as it's best not to rush through the key points of a particular lecture so that the students would remember better what you taught. During this segment, you might also get some questions from the students. So you would want to make sure that you have sufficient time to answer those questions. After all, some common pitfalls or problems of class wrap-ups include rushing through the wrap-up, not having enough time to answer students' questions, and letting the lecture overrun.
Language pointer, American versus British English. Just now, we talked about the difference in the way speakers of American English and British English might refer to 复习.
Surprise, surprise! The differences between American English and British English go beyond the different spellings of the word color, couleur. And whether we refer to
电梯
as elevators or
lifts. I spent quite a bit of time getting used to saying elevators in Taiwan since I grew up learning British English, or a variation of it anyway.
Here, we will introduce a few more differences in common classroom expressions between American English and British English.
You might be thinking, since we use American English in Taiwan, what's the point of confusing ourselves with another variation of the language?
Intercultural communication. We should remember that in an EMI classroom, students might come from all over the world. Furthermore, we might have opportunities to interact with other teachers from different backgrounds, and we definitely want to be as prepared as we can on those occasions. Elementary school,
Primary school,
middle school,
secondary school,
high school,
junior college,
fall,
autumn,
finals,
exam,
freshman, sophomore,
first year, second year,
dorm,
hall,
course,
module,
math.
maths. One thing to note, even though we separated these expressions into two columns in the table, sometimes the distinction isn't so clear-cut. Just think about how some Chinese expressions cross the boundaries between different countries. In this connected world, sometimes we mix expressions from different origins without even realizing it. Thus, the table just serves as a general guide, but reality can be more complex and fun than this simple table can convey. Before we go back to Ruben to see how much he's improved, here's a quick recap of the key points we covered today. See what we did there? Our 4 tips for ending with a bang. Number 1, announcing the end. Number 2, review and recap. Number 3, preview of the next class. Number 4, dismissing a class.
We also discussed how some common classroom expressions might differ between speakers of American and British English.
With that, we've come to the end of this EMI News series. Thanks for following these breaking stories. Stay tuned to Channel EMI for more updates.
That's right, Channel EMI will continue to be your best source of information for all things EMI.
This is Mei Xin,
And this is Anthony P.
signing off.